Kunitsu-Gami is a very unusual mix of designs and genres, so much that most people are having trouble defining what this game even is. But what we do have is a very original and unique game for the year, and if it strikes your fancy, it is an easy must-play. For our story, when the god of a mountain becomes angry with the people and decides to take vengeance, it is up to the priestess Yoshiro and her guardian soul to go up and down the mountain, cleaning and cleansing the villages of defilement, rallying the troops, and doing a lot of dancing along the way. Our gameplay, as the stinger opened up here, is a little bit on the confusing side. Is this tactical strategy Pikmin, action tower defense, or somewhere in between? And the game definitely feels like a mishmash of different genres to create something very unique and interesting. How this works is that our standard gameplay is that you'll go into a village area with the people basically trapped in cocoons and defilement markers around the map. Your mission is to guide Yoshiro from beginning to end using a spirit path in order to reach the demon gate where they're all spawning out of each night, which will cleanse the area. Do it in both areas and the village is saved. However, you need crystals in order to both draw the path, and you can use them to transform the villagers you rescue into various roles, aka classes, aka, I guess, towers. As you play through the game, you'll unlock different roles that will have their own passive tree, and the passives basically enhance their base stats and give them like an enhanced attack, but nowhere are you going to be like transforming a melee character into a super range character or things like that. Now, when night falls, this is when combat takes over. You must position your various villagers to protect Yoshiro and keep any enemies from reaching her. You will be controlling Soul the entire time, and Soul is basically the most powerful character on the field. You'll be able to attack, use your kind of special move that can have basically interchangeable special moves unlocked to it, and you'll be able to equip passive artifacts and charms that can change Soul or the villagers or other aspects around. Now, during the waves, the enemies are endless, and you must keep them from reaching her. If they do, they'll start attacking her, and if her health hits 0, it is game over. Once you survive the night, you'll be able to keep her moving and have her basically, I guess, dance walk from beginning to end. Each village stage does a good job of mixing things up, and there are several stages where the normal rules are kind of broken, such as one level where you must defend on boats, another one where you don't even have access to Soul to defend, you must simply use villagers, and one where you don't have villagers and you must use Soul to defend it. The other half of Kunitsu-Gami is the boss stages. You must use the villagers that you've saved in the village to then go out and defeat the big bad of the area. Beat them and you'll unlock a new mask, aka a new role, and you'll be able to move things forward. Boss fights kind of feel like a more, I guess, action version of, say, a Pikmin boss. You'll be able to issue generic commands of attack or defense to your characters, but you're going to be responsible for doing the bulk of the damage as well as staggering enemies using Soul. While the game starts out somewhat basic in this respect, things certainly evolve as you play. Once you get about halfway done the main campaign, you unlock a complete passive tree for Soul, and these upgrades are quite involved and important, including giving him the ability to counterattack, use arrows, and even change his attack stance. And I kind of feel like these upgrades could have maybe been given a little bit earlier, because I think a lot of people will just view the combat in Kunitsu-Gami as being very simplistic and basic, and it is like that for a good portion of the game. Once you start fighting the higher class demons and getting to more advanced bosses, you do need to make use of your advanced skills and upgrades to do so. You'll be able to upgrade everyone using a resource you gather by completing missions, sub-objectives, and the game's kind of like meta progression with rebuilding each village area that you purify. The villages will basically work when you're doing a map, and it kind of occupies as kind of like a day-night cycle thing for the meta progression. This is somewhat required, as it's the only way to improve your stock of crystals, rations, and get access to more upgrades for everyone via completing each village task. Now, the difficulty of this game is a little bit awkward. It's one of those games I like to say that it's easy until it's not. As you get further in, more enemy types are introduced, such as kind of kamikaze bomber enemies, that if you don't pay attention to can just walk up and explode for massive damage. And then there are enemies that are just strictly there to punish souls, especially if you do not unlock the counter-attack. Once you kind of learn the kind of roles of, well, each role, it does become very open in terms of how you can approach. You could focus on lower quality roles, but have them fully upgraded. You go for more higher quality ones that cost some more crystals. And the different environmental interactions and things you can build definitely expands over the course of playing. What's very fascinating about this game is that it definitely stands out as one of the more unique entries released in 2024. If you approach this purely as an action game, you're not going to be able to do much, as Soul is just one person. You need to operate and manage your villagers if you want to stand a chance. If you come at this purely from a strategy, tower defense style game, then you're going to be in trouble because you need Soul to be on the field hacking and slashing away at enemies, and especially dealing with the boss fights. If I had any legitimate complaints about this one, it is this. I'm not a fan of the crystal grinding that the game seems to encourage. You see, whatever your crystal total is at the end of a map is what you will carry over to the next one. You have a hard limit on the amount of crystals you can bank, and this limit goes up as you completely rebuild villages. The problem is I feel like this is just an unnecessary step and makes things a little bit more grindy than they need to. If I already have a hard cap as to the amount of crystals I can take in map by map, then just let me start a map at that fixed amount. There's no need to throw in extra grindiness on top of things. And again, because this limits what your path can draw, as well as what you can upgrade the villagers on kind of the first night, it feels like an unnecessary annoyance in a game that's often, I think, a little bit more streamlined in that respect. The only, I think, UX issue that I also have is I would have liked being able to sort through the different artifacts and passives a little bit easier than what's in it, but that one's more of a nitpick itself. Kunitsu-Gami is a very fascinating game to play. It is one of those titles you will either love or hate, and I don't think there's anywhere in between for it. It does have a demo available, and I would say that if everything that I've talked about or shown in this review, you have even just a 1% interest in looking at this game, then at least give this demo a try, because if you enjoy it, you're going to find one of the more original games released in 2024, especially one of the more original games released by a AAA studio. And I hope this does signal more weird and odd games coming from Capcom. And one final compliment before we wrap up this review, I love the art style and aesthetic of this game, using the feudal Japan and mythology to produce some very gorgeous environments and some very disturbing looking enemies as well. With that said, I would like to thank everyone for watching this video. This was played with a Games Pass key. Let me tell you, your game for a future stream and video does not have to involve monsters, Japan, or dancing. Please reach out. If you did play this one, let me know what you think about in the comments down below. And with that said, have a great night and see everyone in the next video. Thanks for watching, and a special thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed the video, do the YouTubing stuff, be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon, and you're interested in more of my thoughts on design, check out my game design books.